I asked myself this question yesterday and many times before that while I was full of tears and frustration going through kind of a tough time. Not kind of, a very tough time lately. I asked, why am I so good in these areas in my life? Why am I seeing so much growth here? But in these other areas, nothing. Struggle over and over, trying and trying to, adopt the same mindset and tools and, mindfulness and belief in myself and like everything is working out for me, but it's just not working out for me in these categories. And my friends, I have been through the affirmations, the, mindset, the meditations, the visualizations, the going through the limiting beliefs. All of that is super important and powerful and wonderful. But I've done all of that for these categories of life that, have been kind of a struggle. So then what the hell is it? And this is not the first time I've asked this question, but I got a new answer this morning that really surprised me. And it came from being in my creative entrepreneur group that I have called the Dreamweaver Academy. We did our live call last night, like we do every Tuesday. And the conversation just got into authenticity out of nowhere. It wasn't like part of the plan for the call. We just kind of diverged onto this topic. And it hit me this morning that when you're missing the authenticity in a certain area and you're solely focused on trying to fix it, change it from the world's perspective, which is totally logical. I want to fix this. Let me Google it. Let me learn from teachers. Let me take classes. Let me see the data. Or maybe you're super woo-woo like me and you're like, show me the signs. I'm visualizing it, so it must manifest. But when you don't have the authenticity, I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a moment. It's very hard to try to change and move any situation in your life. And the reason that the other areas seem to flow really well is because you have authenticity there. So what do I mean by authenticity then? What am I talking about? Do I even know? I think so. Here we go. So authenticity, for example, is we were talking about social media, and everyone on the call was like, "Oh, I've always hated social media. I really never wanted to do it, but as like a creative entrepreneur, one's a singer and a voice actor, the other a voice actor and a comedian. I feel like I have to, and it's like a big downside if I don't try. But I just feel uncomfortable. I don't really like showing my face and all that." And everyone was kind of sharing their views on that and their experience, and I was like, totally get it. That was me up until this, past maybe 6 to 8 months. I was the same way. Really did not enjoy being on social media, did not enjoy using it, didn't feel good about it. Every time I would post something, even when I was trying to like just be myself and think about what do I want to post and, rather than what do people want to see, I still felt like it was just so contrived. It was so fake. It was so like, I am posting this so that hopefully I get more followers. And I just hated that feeling. It just felt gross, right? Which is so funny because like I've done sales many times in my life as jobs and I did really well. But not because I had the script and was like, sell for just $9.95, blah, 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 blah. This will add so much to your life. It wasn't this contrived thing, right? It wasn't a spiel. It was always me connecting with somebody, and not to sound cocky or conceited at all. I don't mean it that way, but having them literally like fall in love with my personality, like feel connected to me, not because I'm so wonderful, but because I take the time to listen to what they're saying and understand what they're into, where they're coming from, and I just relate to them. Connect like you would if you were on a date, not in a romantic way, but just getting to know a person. And that's how I would naturally sell because people liked me. Again, not because I'm just so fabulous, but because I listened to them and I connected with them. And even if we were very different, I had a lot of clients who were middle-aged or senior citizens that didn't have a lot in common with me. At the time when I was a personal trainer, I was like in my early 20s, mid 20s. So I hadn't had kids yet. I didn't have any life experience that they had really to connect with them on, but I listened to the things that they would share with me. And I always was able to find some type of point of connection within those conversations. So anyways, I was a natural salesperson because I was just being authentic. And so we started talking about social media and I said, I went through the same thing. I felt like I was trying to post for something rather than just sharing. Um, and, presenting like what's going on with me to the world in a way that feels good, right? And what shifted it for me, and why social media is now more enjoyable for me, was over the last 6 to 8 months, I think it was when I really started zoning in on posting more. I looked at what do I love? What do I enjoy? What content do I consume that I like that resonates with me? Because the things that you consume likely are what you want to also present in some way. I don't mean that, if you follow people who are motivational speakers that you now should do motivational speaking content. No, not like that. But something about the content that they are sharing resonates with you and you really enjoy. So while you don't have to strategically work in, how can I post with motivational and this and that, it's finding what you love to consume and then letting that flow out of you, right? What would you enjoy posting? Because likely what you enjoy consuming is what you would also enjoy sharing in some form. So I started focusing on that. What do I love? And naturally, ideas started to come together, not forced or contrived, but it'd be fun to like do silly songs that are like really goofy and funny, but also sometimes positive or motivating, sometimes just literally funny just to make people laugh because I love comedic content, anime stuff. So I started doing anime voiceover stuff on TikTok, and those have gotten like lots of love, but it wasn't a strategic, this will get lots of views if I use these hashtags. Though the hashtags and all that strategy is certainly helpful, it came from a place of what do I love? What do I enjoy sharing? And that changed social media for me. And it's why I'm pretty comfortable with it now. Does that mean that I never cringe and if I see a comment that I'm afraid might be negative, I see it pop up and I can tell it's not like nice? No, I still have my moments where I'm like, ooh, do people not like me? But it's very rare. Now I'm much more like, whatever. It kind of rolls off of me because I know I'm just being myself and having fun. And that's enough to let me not focus on any negativity or the numbers if I'm not growing on social media fast enough. So I shared that with some of my group members and they really seemed to get a lot out of that. And I realized, I wonder what other areas of life we're lacking authenticity and how that might be affecting us. So I looked at my two biggest pain points, and I invite you to do the same. Look at the places that you've been struggling in for years and years, right? It's just like, this thing just doesn't, the needle doesn't move. I can't get improvement no matter how positive I am. And no matter how much I even surrender. I've talked about this in past videos where I'm like, I've even surrendered, which is hard for me because I tend to obsess and I like can't let something go. I'm like a dog with a bone when I, get inspired with it or by it. But I have over the last couple weeks and month really focused on, okay, I'm just going to surrender, not hold so tightly to it. And I still haven't seen movement. So this idea about authenticity came up and I realized for my pain points, it's finance and physical health. Not so much mental health. I've really made a lot of progress on my mental health, my anxiety, like I'm much better at managing it, but physical illness I've struggled with for a long time. Thank God I don't have any terminal diseases or really, intense, I'm not diabetic. I'm not battling like a really serious situation, but they are debilitating issues that come up over and over and over, no matter what diet I've tried, no matter what visualization and, believing that it's cleared and I'm in my new body, which is healthy, saying I am perfect health every day, trying to rest more. I've done all the things. And with money, same thing. I know what strategies work for me. I know what structure works for me. I am financially literate now. And in the beginning, it was a huge issue was that I was illiterate with money. I didn't know anything. And so I made every mistake because no one told me different, not putting the blame on anyone else, but just it was a knowledge problem before. But now I've realized, okay, I have the knowledge, but I've still done things that have put me in really bad positions, not because I'm dumb, not because I'm irresponsible, but there must be something missing here because I'm applying all the same things that I apply to the other, situations in life, and it's not working here. So what's going on? Authenticity is being in tune enough with who you are, what you love, what makes you laugh, what makes you smile, what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel loved, what makes you feel excited and adventurous, what do you enjoy consuming, like I said earlier, what resonates with you, right? Like listening to your intuition, and that doesn't have to be so woo woo if you're not into that. It really just means the authenticity is being yourself and recognizing what feels good to you. I don't mean in an opportunistic way, like, oh, well, it feels good to me to drink margaritas. So I'm just going to do that every day because you said what feels good to you, right? Okay, maybe you can drink a margarita every day. I'm not saying you can't, right? Some people can if they're healthy in general and they exercise. Then, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell you you should, but I'm also not going to tell you you shouldn't because some people can and it doesn't really affect them that much. My point is, it's possible for you to do that. But if you really ask yourself to answer the question honestly, does drinking a margarita every day really feel to you like it aligns with your best self, with being healthy and vibrant? And if the answer is yes, more power to you. I know people who drink alcohol every day and they are perfectly healthy. Blood pressure, blood sugar, liver function, everything's good. They exercise regularly, they walk a lot. In general, they're pretty healthy. They're not eating, you know, Lucky Charms for breakfast every day and then, pizza for lunch. Like they eat pretty good, right? They're low stress lifestyle. Most of those people are retired, so they're like chilling and they're fine. So it's possible, but the point is here, it has to resonate with you. And I think what happens for me is that when I see an area of life that um, is a struggle, maybe because I saw my parents struggle with it, or people told me it was hard to change. And so that got in my head and then it became my reality. Maybe it was that I had past experiences with it not going right. So then those negative beliefs are kind of, at the front of my mind. Whatever the reason is, when I look at these things and I go to try to change them, I'm trying to apply either physical techniques, right? Like going and looking at somebody's particular money system or, studying how this person has changed their diet and healed their gut and then trying all the supplements, right? Or even on the more spiritual, mental aspect, like, okay, what thoughts would I be thinking if I was healed and financially, totally set where I want to be? Okay, I would feel this, I would do that, blah, blah, blah. Like that stuff's all great. But if you do not have you in there, if there is not a part of this journey of wanting to shift the energy that is what you love, what you enjoy, you as an individual, it's going to be very hard to try to force yourself to do something that someone else is doing because it resonates with them. It's hard to move something, as Joe Dispenza would say, matter to matter, right? It's totally possible, but it's a much longer, harder journey. Anyone who's had severe acid reflux can agree that they may have followed every single part of the diet, which is already freaking nearly impossible. And they still struggled. They still had heartburn. They still had the hoarseness, right? No matter what they did, they lift their bed 3 inches. They took the medicine. They took the supplements, blah, blah, blah. But when there is not a focus on what feels good to me, so for example, something that's very tangible, the acid reflux question. Okay, well, what do I feel like is the major issue here? Like, do I feel like it's what I'm eating? Do I feel like I'm out of control with my diet or I'm eating stuff that doesn't feel good to me? And if the answer is yes, okay, then let's start there. But for me, it was never that. I never felt like I was eating bad foods or foods that were bothering my stomach because they really weren't before. When I first started experiencing really bad acid reflux, it was in my early 20s, and it was because I was hustling very hard. Oh my God, hard, right? I had a job. I was in a girl band and we were like a pop group. So we had recording sessions, dance studio sessions, because, we would sing and dance. We were like trying to be Destiny's Child, right? Um, and I would have to drive from Yucaipa to Temecula, which is like an hour, which doesn't seem like a lot, but after a studio session that would go until 2 a.m, driving back, getting up, going to work, right? Doing shows on the weekends, just all of it was so much. hard work that I was enjoying and it was fun, but I was definitely burning the candle at both ends. That's when I started having the reflux. It was overworking and not resting enough, stressing out a lot and not resting enough mentally, right? So for me, the whole theme is around overexertion and stress. And when the acid reflux, because it went away for years and did not come back, well, I wasn't singing as much for quite a few years after that. I went solo, I was on my own, I wasn't recording so much. I was working on, a different album every year, but it wasn't like I was like coming into the studio till 2 a.m. every other day and all this stuff. I was going at a much more moderate pace, and the acid reflux disappeared. Meanwhile, I was eating and drinking way worse, right? Like I went through that period where I was super broke, so I was eating Little Caesars and like Jack in the Box tacos. Shouldn't have been drinking alcohol while I was broke, but that mentality of like, I deserve something, and I'm stressed out, so I'm gonna drink, right? I was not drinking every night, but like every weekend, I would have beer or wine or whatever. So really, I was eating terrible but I didn't have the acid reflux. So for me, the authenticity here is realizing that the way that I feel and the way that I experience life is that I eat pretty good. I do have a lot of things that are not considered good food, right? That I just enjoy. And I don't feel like those things are an issue. What I feel like the issue is stress. So now rather than trying to adopt this, mindset where I'm trying to heal from within or follow this super strict diet and take the medication, which I am taking the medication, right? To calm the fire because the fire got out of control. So I'm not telling anyone not to. Um, but rather than attacking it from that angle, I'm like, man, I've lost me. I've lost what feels good to me. And what feels good to me is eating a pretty moderate diet where I enjoy things that I like. I leave the things that don't, or if they start to make me feel weird, I kind of just, back off of them. But, I focus more on not overdoing anything. Everything being in moderation and balance. So that's food, that's work, that's social gatherings and different things, like not saying yes to every single social event, like just keeping my life in more of a balance. That is authenticity for me. That is being me and living life the way I want to live it. And when I look at it with money, and hopefully some of you can relate to this, it's the same thing. Okay, at one point in my life, I followed a very, very strict financial system. I did cash budgeting, I did the whole thing, and it worked really well for me because at that time, I had absolutely no literacy in finances, no knowledge, and I was lost. And I just really wanted to feel like at that point in my life, I was shifting into wanting to feel stable, responsible, like a boss, like a CEO, like I got my crap together, right? Because I didn't. I had had so much that I felt shame for, that I felt stupid, that I messed up for in the past with finances and with losing career opportunities because I wasn't organized. So I wanted to change that. So, you do change. And I did change in that moment and become a new version of myself. And in that new version, at the time, being super strict with money worked for me. But once I got to another stage in life where I was like, cool, I do feel confident. I do feel like I've got my stuff together and life is moving in the right direction. I don't feel the shame for the past anymore. I don't feel like I need to fix anything. I'm more in this energy of like, let's just keep building on what we're doing that's working and keep growing and keep learning and expanding. It no longer resonates with me to try and be super, super strict out of fear that, I've got to get out of this debt. I've got to save up this first little emergency fund because if I don't, this is going to happen. I tried to go back to that system and I swear it's like magic. It would not work. And that sounds crazy because it's like, no, money is a math thing. I get it. But there is an energetic part of money too. And you can nickel and dime everything and you can bring cash envelopes to the grocery store and you can budget until your eyes fall out. But if you do not recognize the emotional patterns going on, then the money's going to leak out some way. I promise. It's going to leak out somehow, not because it is magic, it feels like magic, but because your energy does not feel safe unless you are restricting, right? It's the same thing with diets. You get to a certain point where a strict diet is no longer sustainable most of the time. Some people, spend their whole life as a raw vegan, but it's very rare, right? Most people go back into like, okay, I'm vegan. I occasionally have a little bit of dairy, but like generally I'm vegan or whatever it is, right? So, where I lacked authenticity was I moved from this system someone else told me about, which was very strict. It was the whole Dave Ramsey thing, right? Into the polar opposite, which was very much, if you believe in yourself and you believe in, this higher level version of yourself, you can manifest anything that you want if you have the belief and you are relentless in moving towards it and knowing that it is unfolding for you and you have the expectation that it's all going to work out, then it will, right? And I got into this. And when I'm honest with myself now, there are aspects of that I absolutely align with and believe in. Those aspects being you can achieve anything if you really believe it and hold that vision and have the strong desire for it and just continue to move towards it. The part that didn't resonate with me was this whole just burn the boats, as Tony Robbins would say, which this is not a diss to him because I understand the concept behind it. Burn the boats and you'll figure it out, right? That mentality never felt good to me, but because other people were very, very successful and amazing and manifesting these great amounts of wealth and blah, 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 I followed that path. I followed this philosophy and this structure, and it bit me in the ass hard, not because they're wrong, not because the Dave Ramsey people are wrong. Whatever system you create for yourself, as long as it's not hurting you or anyone else and genuinely destructive or dangerous, it can work for you, right? But you have to be authentic to what you feel, what feels comfortable to you. And that's where things get muddy for me and maybe for some of you. You see what other people are doing that is working for them. And you know that if you adopt philosophies of other people who are where you want to be, it can be helpful. It often works. But when you are not listening to your inner voice, it's just going to lead you to really tough situations where you're repeating old cycles. And that's where I'm at. Physically, with my health and with my money, I keep repeating these same cycles. Even though I'm at a higher point, a further point in life financially than I was before, in my career than I was before. The doctor said I have been improving when they've examined my throat. They're saying that it's getting better, but I keep feeling really bad. I keep having days where all of the symptoms are at their peak. They feel horrible again, like I'm starting from ground zero. But it's because I keep trying to fix things and follow someone else's path rather than stepping back and saying, what feels good to me in this moment? And I want to be very clear that when you step back and say, what feels good to me, you're not going to necessarily get an answer like that. And that's the part that's frustrating and why most of us go off and ignore our inner voice because we're like, okay, well, I need an answer. I feel like crap. My stomach's hurting, my blood sugar, my blood pressure's out of control. Like, I need to fix this, or I could really be ill for real. I could have dire consequences. I need to fix my finances because if I don't, I could lose my house. That's understandable. And sometimes you just got to do what is best in the moment. You just do the best that you can with the information that you have at the time and go for it. But when you can step back, it's not about needing a sign or an inspiration in order to move forward. You can still take action, but just try to remember this idea of authenticity and what feels right to you in each moment. And I want to change the word good to right because I said good a lot, right? What feels good. And that gets misconstrued because when we are on a journey where we're trying to expand or stretch ourselves in some way, get to the next level, sometimes it's really uncomfortable. Some things might not feel good, right? If you're about to go skydiving, I don't think it's going to feel good when you're standing on the edge of the plane and when you first jump, you're going to be like, oh my God, right? It's going to be terrifying. You're going to feel fear. You're going to feel discomfort, right? That doesn't mean it's not right for you. It just means it's uncomfortable. So I want to take the word good out. So erase, cancel, clear, delete the word good. right doesn't always mean it feels good. But you know when something feels right. And if you don't know, give it a little bit of time and space if you can, right? When you're not in a life or death emergency where you have to make a decision right now, give it a little bit of space and be like, what feels right to me? Like, what's authentic to me? Is it, going forth and being very fiscally responsible, for example, and having a budget and a system? Because I'm more A type and that feels good, while also leaving room for spontaneity and taking risks, right? Or maybe you're somebody who is already overly A type and you don't leave any room for any spontaneity and any fun and any taking risks or chances. Maybe a strict budgeting system is not the best thing for you and you can feel that. It just feels like it's just not aligning with you. And again, it's not that it feels uncomfortable, it's that it doesn't feel right. There's a discord there. Then maybe doing something that's a little bit more spontaneous. I'm not telling you to go and abandon all budgeting, but you have to gauge where you are and move from there. And I think that's where I keep going wrong, and I'm sure a lot of other people can relate. If there are areas where you just feel like you're not getting it, you don't understand, maybe it's relationships, maybe you're on your third marriage and you're like, I still feel like I don't know what's wrong with my relationship, what's wrong with me, I can't find love, like whatever the category is, just take a step back and ask yourself, am I being authentic in this? Am I truly following my heart, or am I taking on what other people are telling me and trying to fit into their system? How I'm shifting that now is remembering the fact that I like a beautiful balance between structure and spontaneity. In my case, more woo woo, right? I like the structure. I like the woo woo. I like to combine them. That is who I am. I was always the creative kid, my head in the clouds, but at some point I got into sports and fell in love with discipline and structure. I'm not an extreme either way. It's perfectly okay if you are one extreme or the other. Be authentic about it and make decisions and move from that knowing that this is who you are, this is what you love, this is how you want to be. And then you can make plans, right? And for me, it's knowing that I like having a financial system. I like taking risks. I like betting on myself. I have no problem dropping money on investing in my business. The problem is for me, I followed this extreme philosophy of like, now just spend the money in it. You're going to manifest it because you believe in yourself and you know it's coming and blah, blah, blah. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, then, I guess don't spend the money. Like this, almost like this, like bullying yourself into taking risks because if you really believe, you would just do it, right? That energy does not align with me. For some people, I've seen it work. I watch them. I watch them doing things with zero structure. They probably have an accountant and a financial person to a point, but they're not budgeting. They're not really counting where their money is going. They've put things on credit cards and it's worked out for them, right? But they fully are in it, committed to it. They believe in it. And so when they come across moments of like, oh, money didn't come quite in time, so I can't pay this bill, they don't care. They genuinely do not care. And they just figure it out and it works out for them. Right? They tell the bill collector, I'm going to pay you in 2 weeks. And then they do. And then they move on and they make $1 million. Like I've literally seen it. And I've also seen people who are structured down to the last dollar and that works for them. But for me, sorry, I'm rambling about this financial thing, but this video is more for me. Let's be honest. I've had these realizations over the past 24 hours that I like the structure, just not to a restrictive level where I don't ever take a risk. But a calculated risk, not even a calculated risk, let me rephrase that. A risk that I know is the right time to make, not one that feels absolutely comfortable, like a fluffy cloud, like, oh yeah, oh, it's $100 for a new, piece of equipment. Sure, I'll take that risk. I mean, sometimes it is over $1,000, a couple $1,000, and it's like, ooh, that's more money than I'm used to spending, but it feels like right now I'm comfortable taking that risk because it's my busy season and I have a lot of money coming in and it's probably not going to be too big of a hit if I don't make the money back fast because I've got a lot coming in, right? That's just an example. But having the structure for me, I had a system I had started to follow, which is technically budgeting, right? It's Ramit Sethi's conscious spending plan. You do put your money into different categories, and it automatically adds 15% onto your fixed cost, which I love for miscellaneous. So you're like already automatically covered for any extra stuff that comes up. So you don't have to go in and put in every single $50 a month to save up for potential birthday party gifts I have to buy for people. You don't have to exhaust yourself by doing every little thing because that for me is too much. But having a general breakdown and then seeing how much do I have left over? Okay, cool. I'd love to allocate around this much to savings, to investing. And I'd love to add an accountant onto my team, right? I have an accountant now. That's a service I pay for every month. So there's structure, but still with room for freedom where I'm not budgeting every dollar. That was working for me. It just started working for me, and then I saw big dollar signs and excitement and thrill in this system, and these other people were just crushing it, and I just was like, "Well, I wanna be crushing it," and I feel like I have such a long way to go financially before I can reach any of my goals. It felt like a shortcut. So I went there, and again, it bit me in the ass. I would say that I regret it, but I don't because it exposed the pattern for me. It exposed a pattern of me not being authentic, of me not trusting my gut, of me jumping into an opportunity at the wrong time because I felt like I needed to prove myself. And that's the last point I want to make is when it comes to authenticity, we tend to struggle in areas where we don't have it because we're trying to impress someone. We're trying to prove someone wrong. It always comes from this emotion of really unworthiness. And for me, that's what it's been. I've always been blessed enough to feel worthy when it comes to love and relationships, or at least for quite a few years I have, because my parents were so loving. My family all around me, aside from one person who was very toxic, everyone else has been so supportive and loving that I've never felt unworthy in relationships. I've never felt unworthy of love. So relationships have always been easy for me. I've always had pretty awesome friends and coworkers and peers, and I don't fight with people ever, right? Physical fitness, always easy for me. I was always in sports. I never struggled to keep weight off. If I gain a little weight, I could drop it really fast, right? So because I had an easy time with those things and I was living them authentically because my experience with them was authentic, I didn't feel like I needed to prove something or fix something. They've always gone well for me. My marriage is wonderful, right? My physical fitness is pretty dang good too. But the areas where I have always had struggle and the areas where you're currently having struggle, there is a lack of trusting yourself. There's a lack of listening to your inner voice. There's a lack of believing that you're worthy enough to do it your way. And I'm not saying don't take critiques and criticism and advice from other people, because certainly they can add on to what you're already doing. Or, that you're always doing everything perfect as long as you're being authentic. No, but when you are authentic in how you move and how you make decisions, you can clearly filter out the advice that, no thanks. Or, you know what? That really resonates with me. Like, I feel like that's truth for me. I'm going to try that, right? You get diet advice all the time from people. Oh, well, you just got to take these supplements. For me, when someone starts talking about supplements, I'm like, no, thank you. Right? Nope, I'm out. Not because I think they're bad, but because I just don't resonate with taking supplements. I am more focused on what I eat, what I drink, and keeping my stress down and sleeping 8 hours. And I am a little bit more on the traditional medical side of things, which is surprising because I'm so woo woo and spiritual. And I absolutely believe you can heal with the mind in so many ways. But my experience has been more positive in the traditional medical direction. Again, that's not true for anyone else necessarily, but it's been my experience. So, me moving authentically in physical health is going to the doctor, listening to the doctors, but even with them, if they give me some advice or tell me something that doesn't sound right to me, I'm not going to do it, right? I have not stopped drinking caffeine. I have acid reflux and I still drink coffee because I have always drank coffee and, well, not always drank coffee. Let me rephrase that. Before I started drinking coffee, I had acid reflux. So I knew that wasn't a trigger. And when I started drinking it, it didn't get worse. So for me, Not an issue. Anyways, I don't know why I got into that. I just felt the need to defend myself because I love my caffeine. But um, if you are lacking authenticity in something that you're doing, that's probably a huge reason why the needle won't move. The needle won't move for you. It's getting hot in this booth, even though the AC is on in the house. It's a 4x4 booth. Yes, there is a vent fan, but you can't turn it on very high because then the sound is messed up. So I'm getting hot. I'm going to get out. I'm gonna get out. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And love you. Bye.